What's going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
I'm Pat.
And I'm Zach.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent podcast. They say you can't choose your family. Well, you also can't choose which era of music you grew up in. This is a weekly show where we discuss our favorite bands from adolescence and how they continue to shape our lives today. Each week, we'll head back to the early 2000s and take a closer look at the cards we were dealt. Hey, everybody. Pat's touching the microphone. This is the Reminiscent podcast, and we're doing this damn thing live. We don't know how it's going to sound, but that doesn't really matter. We're here. We're in the car. We've been driving for 4 hours. We're doing the damn thing. We're listening to 4 Under Par. Buckle up. Huh? Just turn the music down. The music that we usually start the show with, our old band, 4 Under Par. We are passing Cleveland, Ohio, on the way to my dad's house in Ripley, New York for our 10-year high school reunion. We don't know what we're going to talk about. We have a lot of chips, some Diet Coke, some cold brew. You know what? Okay, let's start this episode off with a pop quiz. Tell us, listener, which kind of chip is this? It's a good chip. Is it A, Fritos? Is it B, Doritos? Is it C, Cheetos? You'll find out at the end of the show. Okay, so we've been driving for 4 hours, throwing my recorder around here. We've had some pretty intimate conversations, things that should never be aired on this podcast. But it was good catching up. We got into the Kentucky-Cincinnati airport around 1 p.m. Been driving 4 hours. We're around Cleveland. Who wants to go? What are we talking about here? Because I don't think we really have a plan.
I warned Zach and Tom that my dog had eaten her own feces before they arrived. So sometimes she gets friendly and wants to lick people's hands. So I had to make sure that they knew heading in that there'd be just a germ situation heading into the entire process. And that's kind of where we're still in that mindset now. I think it's fair to say. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. All right, Zach is here. He hasn't been with us in a while, but we are the three best friends that anyone could have. Do you want to tell us now what chip that was, Zach, or are you gonna leave him hanging in suspense?
Well, I'll tell you. Give us one more. I'm gonna give you one more, and then I'm gonna tell you.
Ooh, that's good content.
This is the first time we've ventured into ASMR on the show as well. So this is kind of a groundbreaking episode for us. It's very exciting, actually. Thanks for joining us. Would you call this, Tom, an extra special? Like, you know how in the 90s there'd be a drama, be like, on an extra special episode of Home Improvement, like Timmy had sex for the first time or something. This is the first time we've been on the road. This is the first time we've had ASMR elements, right? That's big. It's a groundbreaking show.
It's also the first time we've ever recorded in the same state. Is that true? There were elements of my wedding where we were together, but I don't think that would be considered an episode. We are currently doing 72 on the highway. I'm riding in, okay, so when I watch movies and someone's in the back seat, they always put them in the middle for the sake of the shot. They want that person in the shot. But I found myself in the back seat in the middle voluntarily, even without a seatbelt on, because it doesn't seem to be working, just so I can hear both of you properly. So maybe I've been judging the movies too harshly. Do you have any thoughts on the back seat, middle seat issue, Zach?
Well, I'd like to discuss the underutilization of the middle back seat. Usually there's just like a flip down of some kind with two little cup holders in it. Usually don't carry like a firm grip on any type of cup. So really, it's just a place for things to gather that you don't want there anyway. So you flip that up, and there's the safety belt that isn't really that great of a safety belt. It's just a cross the lap one, and that's been known to cause more deaths than like saving people.
Sometimes the fancy ones it comes from the shoulder. There's that Brian Regan routine where he wanted to make his older brothers jealous of the fact that he had to sit in the center hump every time. So he'd call it as if it were a shotgun, like center hump, and then he'd always race to the middle of the car just to feel. But no one was ever falling for it. But it was just funny. Anyway.
Yeah, what chip are we dealing with here?
That was a Dorito. A beef.
It was beef Doritos. If you guessed Doritos, tweet at the show at _reminiscent FM. I have like 80 Ron Carnage bookmarks in my backpack. We can mail you one. I know we owe Matt a few. I actually thought about it would be fun to hit the post office when we're in Erie to send Matt their bookmarks so it could touch all three of our hands at the same time.
We could send it via swimming human into Canada because we'll be about as close to Matt as we've ever been.
Did I ever tell you the story about so my dad lives in Ripley, New York, which like you could throw a stone into Lake Erie from his house. And we were down there because we used to have campfires on the beach, which is actually kind of one of the plans tonight. We found a message in a bottle. It was like a plastic Coke bottle, and it was from Canada. Like these two young brothers threw a bottle into the lake, and it made its way across the lake to my dad's house.
Please go into, like, what? That's awesome. What did it say?
They had a phone number, and it was like, if you find this, can you call us? Like, we just want to know that it like someone found it, but it was like the year 1999, and like long distance calling was too expensive, so we didn't call them.
Do you remember? I guess at Sam's Club they used to have like calling cards, which cell phones like obliterated the need for. I wonder if they would have had an international version, like, do you need to make a call up to, I don't know, London, Ontario, or whatever.
Actually, the plugs that I'm wearing right now were made in London, Ontario. Fun fact.
Another fun fact. Erie's local PBS affiliate also broadcast to London, Ontario. And I'm sure many of the Otters broadcasts would have reached there as well.
And you texted me a couple days ago saying that Erie, Pennsylvania was mentioned in a Letterkenny episode.
Yeah, basically the hockey dudes were in a weightlifting situation. I believe it was season 4, episode 3. And they always riff so fast, but they were like, but looking like some Otters, boys. It's like, and then he mentioned 2 different minor league hockey teams that were named after Otters. Erie came up, and I can only assume that Erieites are honorary Canadians in the eyes of Jared Kiso and company. So it made me feel good that day for sure.
Well, I don't know much about that.
That was the most like Forrest Gump any of us have ever sounded.
And that was the introduction of a second type of chip. Should we give the listeners more? They can guess what kind of chip we're dealing with here today.
Let me get one more crunch in there. I feel like I gypped the crunch there. It wasn't a very good one. It wasn't a full chip. I want like the real hexagon here.
Okay, your choices are A, double dipping with the Doritos. You got B, Lay's baked chips. And we have C, Lay's normal chips. We'll come back to that in a bit. What is the plan for this? I mean, I think we're not really putting too much pressure on doing any type of music or anything. We're trying to get a little bit of stuff here just for like a fun episode to do while we're together, because it's never been done in the history of podcasting, an episode during a road trip. We are claiming that title now. But I don't think we really... I've heard several of those episodes. I don't... do we have any plan at all? Or are we just... We're passing a single microphone around in the car, which makes it a little more difficult. Whoever's holding the microphone holds all the power. I'm talking too much. I will move the microphone forward.
Well, Tom, you started the trip, and I mean, we all started talking about a little bit before we broke into every past high school moment that we wanted to overanalyze together again, which will continue deeper in the night, I'm sure, be it romantic or not. Your daily routine, you found yourself coming in. I thought it was very interesting. You seem to be on this like quest to map every second of your day. And I don't know if you want to revisit that, but I'm very curious. You seem to, like, even down to your personal moments, want to figure out your body in a way that I think I've never heard before. Like, you are really trying to figure yourself out. And I wonder even how that even started, really. Because we're all we haven't seen each other since our weddings. And on your wedding weekend, you're not exactly, well, you're busy. You're not like broing down. So we all kind of are catching up into what our daily lives look like nowadays.
All right. We just had to pass a cop. I'm not wearing a seatbelt. Pat had a microphone in front of his face.
It's legal in Pennsylvania because it's a Commonwealth, but in Ohio, you can't podcast and drive.
Well, we are the bad boys of podcasting. Everybody knows that. Okay. So I listened to a podcast called Cortex. The hosts are CGP Grey and Mike Hurley. In the early days, they were really into productivity and time tracking and all kinds of stuff just to be more efficient in your life of self-employment. So since I went self-employed in March, which was 3 or 4 months ago at this point, 3.5 months, yeah, I have been trying to find the balance of work and I don't want to say play because I feel like I'm always kind of working, always trying to develop some kind of way to enjoy my own stuff, make a little more money.
Do you even enjoy enjoying things? And that's a joke, but like you seem to have your personal time slotted in such a way. Well, you even said like you get anxious not being productive, but to me that sounds a touch exhausting. Like, are you even having fun right now with your friends, man?
Well, okay, so that's kind of why I didn't want to like necessarily be podcasting on the drive because I am always trying to think of like work stuff or like, you know, I've been doing the vlog a little bit, don't tell Pat, and trying to think of, you know, shot sequences and stuff, and it gives me a little bit of anxiety. So
I can't pretend to go to the bathroom in the car, but Tom's been vlogging this whole trip. Over time, the YouTube is a trash, like, compacting black hole of nothingness has aged well, I would say, over the past 2 years, given everything that's taken place. Would you say the same?
I don't know, man. I love YouTube.
Like, I feel very comfortable, given the headlines YouTube has been involved with in the last 2 years, being anti-YouTube, and I'm going to go ahead and stick right the hell on that take until further notice.
Well, good thing none of us are YouTubers. So, anyways, yes. It's been kind of a struggle, you know, going self-employed. The whole point of it was to be independent and not have to like stick to like a strict schedule or do anything at any certain time. But what I found is that I basically am working, quote unquote, in work mode like 16 hours a day. And I don't want to do that. So I want to compress all the work into as small of time as possible. And by doing that, I'm constantly trying to optimize how my time is used. I wake up at 7:15. I immediately grab a 32-ounce thing of water, a mason jar, and then I fill my boiler up with water, turn it on, brush my teeth, go to the bathroom. I come back, I make coffee, I go downstairs, I watch 20 minutes of educational YouTube videos, and then I start editing. And I came to that conclusion after I really became aware that my most productive hours are like first thing in the morning. So I would wake up and immediately go downstairs. And then by around like 11, I turn into like a useless pile of garbage because after 3 hours, I wasn't doing anything for myself. So I was kind of like revolting against the work and just getting really distracted. So then the rest of my day was a bust. So then my next iteration of that was I spent like 30 minutes to an hour watching TV first thing in the morning, trying to take some time for myself. But then that left me distracted like all day. So what I've settled on now is like take the first 10 minutes to just like do a routine, the same thing over and over and over, stick to it religiously.
My question before, and it remains, because I think we've been jumping around trying to catch up so quickly because we have like a lot of ground to cover, given all the, we don't see each other enough, but what's the end game? What do you hope to figure out about yourself? Do you hope to have every minute mapped at some point, or like where does this experiment end?
Yeah, I think at some point every minute will be mapped. It's kind of like they talk about that in Cortex, and I don't know. I don't want to schedule in like recreation time, but pretty much where I'm at now is like the 20 minutes of educational videos. I'm intermittent fasting, so I work until 11. I go upstairs, eat breakfast, take a half an hour, and then my schedule kind of stops at 11:30. So it's like kind of free form from there. So I'm experimenting with like really strictly scheduling the first half, letting the second half be a little more open. I'm definitely taking a lot more time to read. As far as end game goes, I'm not like particularly sure because right now my mode is just making as much money as possible because that is the most immediate need. Down the line, I want to start delegating tasks, and then the ultimate goal will be to make as much money as possible while doing as little work as possible. So part of that formula will be what is the amount of money necessary? Because right now it's just kind of an arbitrary, like, make it all, like make everything possible. But at some point there will be like, okay, I'm comfortable making this much a month, working this little. I don't want to keep working as much as I can for as much money as I can. It's not going to keep me going forever. And I'm getting the signal from my producer in the front seat we never disclosed what our second chip was. So for those who need a reminder, let's get one more listen, and then we will reveal Zach's chip of choice number 2. Here we go.
A little softer here. There's not as much girth, not as much bite. It's definitely more of a Whole Foods feel as opposed to like Black Friday at a Target. You know what I'm saying? There's the edge isn't quite there. That's my best hint I can give.
All right, so I think what Pat is alluding to here is maybe the healthier nature of the chip. It is an iteration of a previous chip, which is a little more granola, you would say, a little more Whole Foods. Dirt onto the toes. What are we going for here?
Dirt on the toes, yes. Granola, perhaps not, because granola has an inherent crunch to it. If you've ever eaten a Nature's Valley bar, those crumbs go everywhere. So, again, we're going to lower crunch.
All right, so Zach will reveal Zach's chip corner number 2. What do we got?
It's the thinner slice. It's lean. It's mean. It's a go-getter. It's the Lay's baked version. Yeah.
Hey-o. So what are the distinct advantages of Lay's baked over Lay's original? Is it purely the amount of grease not left on your shirt afterwards? Is it flavor? Is it girth, as Pat previously mentioned? What do we got here?
Also, subset question for Zach. Do you have an optimal road trip beverage and or snack? The floor is yours, my good man.
Ooh, I love that. Here we go.
Well, to answer the first question about the baked Lay's versus the original Lay's, I always found myself with a headache if I ate way too many normal Lay's. I'll say normal for that. But baked Lay's, you could eat a lot more of them.
So it was optimized for being fat as fuck. Is that what?
So I like the crunch better. So the crunchiness of like a traditional Lay's is kind of an oily crunch. You take one crunch and it all kind of melts in your mouth in an oily way. It's a little bit uneasy, and it's an oily finish. What I like about the baked Lay's is that the crunch is so delicate. It's so fresca. It's a melt in your mouth type of crunch after the moisture gets in there, but it's just more delicate. It's a lighter salt. There's not as much oil. I don't know if there's much oil in it at all, but it's a thinner chip. It's a lighter chip. It's a flat chip. All around, a great chip.
So we had this discussion earlier. They make organic Doritos now. I saw those in the store. Tom had mentioned them as a possible what we were going to do. My argument is if you're going to go for the chip, just don't do those things and just eat the original Lay because it's a quality chip, in my opinion. I don't know. What say you?
Well, it is a good chip, and one could eat a lot of them and feel satisfied with the saltiness and the oiliness, which I do. But I think that next to each other, they both have great qualities, both a tasty chip. And yeah, if you're going to go for chips, go for chips. Honestly, taste. I think baked Lay's takes the chip.
I just want to set the scene for listeners here. Pat is unable to interrupt us without me putting the microphone in his face. And he's like waving his hand around to summon the microphone to him. And I'm kind of loving the power right now. Let me go back to what I was saying. Just kidding.
I'm not playing this game.
I really want to hear what you had to say.
I like Zach to answer the damn question about what the ideal road trip snack is, quite frankly. I think all this dancing around is today's political climate has really just, why can't we just get things done and reach across the aisle and work together is all I'm saying.
Okay, ideal. We're gonna lump a few categories into this decision. We're gonna look at filling. How?
What chip has fillings in it?
I'm not talking about chips specifically. I'm talking about road trip snack. That was the question. Road trip snack.
Oh, like filling in terms of how much it fills your tummy. Okay.
Yes, that's one of the categories that we're gonna think. And so filling. How long is it gonna last you? because say you're driving with a group of people and you don't want to stop a whole bunch of times, or quantity, how much you need to bring with you for however many hours, and overall flavor and pleasure out of the snack. And my vote, and it's not just because we had this snack already, but I've used this snack many times, and not just on road trips, but just everyday lunches. But you gotta go with the PB&J, because you don't really need a cooler for that jelly, because that jelly's gonna be gone by the end of that road trip, and rightfully so. You gotta slather that bread up real good, crunchy PB, and I don't know, it just works. It fills you up, tastes good. That's ideally, in my opinion, the best road trip snack.
Okay, so I have many qualms as Pat is waving his hand again. Okay.
That is as close as we've gotten on the show. We've dabbled for the first time in ASMR. This is the first time we've dabbled in having the audio of Ron Swanson describing creating a chair on that Parks and Rec episode where they do the telethon as we've ever become.
All right, so we had peanut butter and jelly, more commonly referred to as PB&J, on this trip already. There were spoons, there were knives, there was silverware involved. You had to create the sandwich on the lap of one and hand it to another. I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but I think it's bullshit, because that is the least convenient snack ever. I remember I was going on a road trip once with someone's mom, and she brought all the ingredients to make iced tea, and then she had us make the iced tea in the car for her. And like, what the fuck, dude?
I think ideally you prep a little bit and you make like 4 or 5 or 6 of them, and then you're good to go. That's probably the best thing to do. We didn't do that, but I made sandwiches for you two, and that's an endearing sandwich. Like, Pat sent me a link through that Twitter thing the other day of that dude who made his bro a sandwich.
We'll put a link in the show notes, apparently.
It was so funny. Like, I get to make these boys a sandwich. That's a good day.
You know, Aaron Lonkey, who the author name Aaron Matthews is partially based off of, used to come over to our house when Ford or our band was practicing and make us all cheeseburgers on my mom's grill. Do you remember that? That was the biggest bro move ever. And I don't mean that like, oh, he's a fucking bro, but like, he was a fucking bro.
He legitimately, just to see everybody, organized an entire class reunion. He just texted me like a few months ago. He's like, we should probably do it. I'm like, yeah. And then, yeah, he just did it, like made it happen. So he's probably he's probably too good for us. We probably don't deserve him, actually.
He's a man of action. I wouldn't say very few words. He's a man of a medium amount of words, just the right amount of words, and just the right amount of action.
Both many actions and many words.
Many words, okay. I would like to tell our listeners my snack of choice. I don't think it's my snack of choice right now. I'm not going to put myself in this little box and say this is the best thing all the time. I'm fucking with gummy bears right now, and that's my mood after I ate a whole bag of Doritos, though. So
I got to say, I haven't snacked this hard since like 3rd grade sleepovers.
Are we on our way to our third chip?
I think the time's now, so I'm going to get myself prepared here, clean out my molars.
Pictures in the show notes.
It's like a beer flight. They have a little glass of water. You got to rinse out the mouth and get the crumbs out.
It's a palate cleanser. Some people, I don't think you could refer to it as an amuse-bouche. That's more of a palate opener before my normal 12-course meal. Let's get these chips. This is our third chip. Of all the chips we've tasted so far, don't tell us what it is, but tell us where it ranks on the hierarchy of chips that we've tried today.
Hierarchy as in like my personal preference of chips?
Yes.
This is my favorite chip. I saved the best for last, in my opinion. This is my favorite chip, and I hope it scores well on the crunch meter.
All right, give us one. Let's hear that crunch.
Oh!
That is a crunch, baby! Give us one more. Let's throw a club horn on that.
It's a flat chip.
Oh, yeah! Turn fucking heat. Okay. I don't want to give too much away. But do you remember how crunchy these fucking bags were like 10 years ago? It was like an atomic bomb going off in your cabinet. And there was a good reason for it. Some psychoacoustic reasons. Here we go.
Things were just noisier. Wind pants were a thing. You had to flip your phone shut and it clapped. You couldn't sneak around. You know what I mean?
All right. So, Zach's favorite chip. Listeners, tweeted the show at _reminiscent FM. Let us know how this ranks on your crunchometer. Which chip are we dealing with here?
Well, back to the noisiness of this bag, and I hope it doesn't give it away too much, but you always knew when the cats were in the pantry, you know. I lived in a 3-story home, and the pantry was down in the kitchen. I slept up on the 3rd floor, and I could hear that bag and the cat just kind of making his way in and open the door and crunching things about. But Pat, you said turn up the heat.
Give us one more. We need it. Like dramatic.
Dramatic, take a moment. Let's get one final crunch of this fucking behemoth of the chip world.
Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby!
The sun chip.
The softest chip.
My God. I haven't screamed like that in a while.
I gotta say, actually, the Dorito probably had the harder crunch, but it's very fun to scream for the nobody's been as hyped for a sun chip as we were just hyped for that sun chip.
You know what's great about this chip? It's 100% whole grain. It's heart healthy. No artificial, no artificial flavors or preservatives, and it's got 30% less fat than regular potato chips, which does not include the baked Lays because that's not a regular potato chip.
That is a chip of its own, and if you want to read the rest of the sun chip bag, head to your nearest local 7-Eleven. But yeah, so who wins? Taste first, crunch second.
My all-time favorite chip is the cheddar cheese sun chip. I saved that one for last. And I'd say the second, because it's a classic, and because of the taste coming in hot at number 2 is the Dorito, the nacho cheese Dorito.
Preach!
And the baked Lays are just a really, really good third base. Rounding it home, heart-healthy choices. Go baked Lays. But the chip, the crunch really wasn't that great. I hope to hear this at one point and listen to the crunch of each chip. It really wasn't that great of a crunch, was it, y'all? I mean, I don't think it was. The baked Lays?
No crunch. Bad chip. Overall, just the performance today it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch.
When the chips are on the table.
All right, where do we go from here? I don't think anyone wants to hear about my schedule anymore.
Oh. Well, I kind of was interested to see. I mean, we're all married men now, so it's been I would say, the most different year of our lives. I mean, last time we saw each other was in Vermont or Arkansas. I guess if you would have asked us where our weddings would be later in life, those would not be in the first 20 guesses, right? Probably those 2 states. So we're just catching up. Zach, what's your day-to-day been like? I feel like you have not shared with the group as much as the roist of us. You have a dog now named Seamus, which is super cute.
Man, Seamus is an energy ball. He's a ball of energy. He has one goal in life, and that's to abundantly show his love for humans and other dogs. And if most people lived that way just to show life, I think the world would be a better place. He likes to be alive. He likes to play. He's very fast. He likes to do cartwheels with other dogs.
We'll get a picture in the show notes. Can you, Pat,
You had mentioned a boo-boo?
Yeah, he was doing cartwheels with a couple other dogs at the dog park. And he landed on his left shoulder, and it was on a hard patch of ground. There might have been a rock right there. And, yeah, it hurt a lot. He couldn't walk on it for a while. He's still recovering. Yeah, poor little guy.
Well, Seamus is a cutie. You don't have to take our word for it. We'll throw a picture in the show notes, right? We all have pictures of each other's dogs.
I was going to say, Tom, you had referenced on the show before kind of not a fear, that's too strong, but what are your emotions heading into this weekend? I mean, it's a 10-year high school reunion. There's nothing to sneeze at.
I'll get to that. I totally want to hear more about the dog, though. Then we'll go right there.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Seamus is a German wire hair pointer. So he's a hunting breed of dog. He is black and liver spotted with a couple larger black blotches on his body, a little white nose and forehead. And the thing with wire hairs is they have this wiry coat that's that give him the Irish wolfhound look. And some of you may be more familiar with what an Irish wolfhound looks like versus like a German wire hair pointer. So if you think of that wiry coat, a beard, bushy eyebrows, that's what my dog has. Nice red beard coming in, and it's just really cool.
I think you might have just described me, though.
Tom, I'm surprised you were not more willing to talk about it. Seamus is an adorable specimen, of course, but I just figured you'd want to at least get it off your chest because you had expressed some significant, like hesitancy to even attend the actual event. I don't know if you wanted to touch on that at all before the show's over. Just throwing it out there, that's all.
So how is his shoulder doing now?
I took him to the vet the day after just because my wife would feel a lot better knowing that a professional other than myself looked at him. And the vet said, basically, soft tissue, since he's walking on it, he's probably fine. Just a soft tissue boo-boo, a subdermal hematoma, if you will. Like one of those bruises you get when you play too hard with your buddies. And she said, just rest him, keep him on a short leash, and stick him in the kennel for a little bit more during the day. And don't let him jump around. Don't let him go to the dog park for the next week. And here's an anti-inflammatory, like an ibuprofen, like an NSAID for humans. So I started him on that regiment, and he'll be back in the weight room on Monday.
All right. Well, we're all praying for a speedy recovery there.
Was it like Seamus is great? That's not what I'm trying to do.
So what was the doctor's name?
Let's see, Sally Prince, actually, Prins. Very competent and actually very nice glasses. I liked them a lot.
Tell me more about her feet.
Well, she wore covered shoes, and I think that's like covered, like closed-toed shoes, and I think that's a good choice in shoe. Many claws about. Cats, dogs. You don't want your feet all scratched up by other feet.
We can never be too safe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not anti-dog or anything. That's not. I mean, based on what the show usually.
But the wire hair pointer is relatively new breed-wise. It's like 100 to 150 years old and keeps it. It's near the end of its evolution, so now it's its own breed. There's a short hair version. There's a wire hair version. We have the wire hair. Most wire hairs are like brown, light brown with the spots, like the little spots. And but mine is.
Tom, sorry to rip the mic from you, but yeah, Zach. Actually, do you think breeding's gone too far with dogs, or?
So what I'm really hoping this reunion turns into.
Tom, don't bogart the mic, dude. No, so do you think breeding, pugs and stuff, there's respiratory issues? Where do you stand on that?
I guess in every breed and every, maybe in every crossbreed or mutt, they all have a little bit of their own issues. And unfortunately, we see the life of a dog go from 0 to 14 and 16, 18, or even less than that. And we see youthfulness to maturity to old age in a very short span of time, considering our lifetimes. And so maybe we overthink it. I mean, dogs are going to die, and they're going to die of the things that they die from. And humans are going to die, and they're going to die of the things that they die from. And I don't know.
So I forgot about what I had asked Tom. I don't really care anymore. All I care about is the fact that we're about to go to our 4th state of the day. 5th for Tom and Zachary. We're about to go to Western New York, not as far as Southern Tier, where they brew good beer out there, but just into some actually, what some would consider to be a pretty decent wine country, given the where we are in the globe. They have some good, interesting sweet wines they do up there in Western New York and northwestern Pennsylvania and even northeastern Ohio. Anyway, that's where we're headed. It smells like grapes in the fall, and we are committing a crime and photo documenting it, I think. As I mentioned, you're not allowed to podcast in Ohio. We haven't crossed the state line. So, yeah, basically, we're about to go to Tom's dad's house, and your dad's in good shape. He's doing well. Like, we might have some pie on our way. What are we heading into? Also, this is weird because we've never been together to record other than your wedding, so I have no idea how to end this show at all.
We've been promised cookies with the potential for a meal when we get there. We're going to get there around 10 p.m. Looks like the rain's holding off. We're going to have a campfire. We might go down to the lake, do some night swimming. I'm getting naked, if that's the case. I did bring some swimmies, but they will come off so fast, my pale booty will blind you, even in the darkness of night. So anyways, the reunion. Yeah, I think I'm coming around to just going. Reluctantly. We developed kind of a new plan. What was that? We developed kind of a new plan where we're going to stay at my dad's, going to hang a little bit tomorrow so I can get some time with him. I think we're each spending a night at each of our parents' house. Is that maybe the case? I don't know. But I think I'm just going to go, just do the damn thing to say I did. Not super looking forward to small talk, but I can't keep doing the same routine every day and expect my life to get any better. So,
well, to me, it's like Facebook. You already know what happened to what person, both professionally and physically, like looks wise. Like, there's no secrets anymore. So it's like, don't come if you don't want to. No one's holding a gun to your head. I'm curious in the era of Facebook if reunions will become easier because everyone just kind of knows where everyone's at, right? So just come have a beer or not. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there was so much stress in the movies and stuff, and people. There's actual stress. Like, it's going to be a little weird because I have this fear of forgetting someone's name because there was close to 200 people, which is small compared to some people's experiences. But I mean, there's a lot of fear that goes into it. But I hope everyone who comes gets out of it what they want to, which is just some nice chats with people they missed and haven't had a chance to see. Right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think social media has changed everything, including the significance of a high school reunion, because you can just kind of keep in touch. But that assumes that people do voluntarily so, and that they interact enough for Facebook's algorithm to put them on your feed. I know I was surprised that I was friends with some of the people I was, because I was never seeing any activity from them. So I don't really know people's lives too much. Don't know what they know of mine, which is probably the most uncomfortable aspect. Not that I've done anything worth feeling uncomfortable about, but it is just a thought in my head. But we're still going to have fun. We're going to hang out downtown, go to a baseball game, maybe get a nice dinner together, a three-way friend date. And I can't believe that we're about to cross into, we're hitting Pennsylvania first. Oh, you have to in order to get to Ohio. So we're in Ashtabula County. The captain says Pat's been driving the whole time. And I can't remember the last time I've been to Pennsylvania. I think it was right before I moved to Colorado. I came to visit my dad, but my mom was already in Florida. So her house is technically still there. We can go hang out. No one lives there. Are we going to throw a rager in my mom's house?
Party at my parents' house.
Oh my God. Wow. I haven't heard that in a while. That was a good callback. Well, yeah, how do we end this? That's so weird being...
The Dorito was the better chip.
All right, so we'll wrap up this episode. The Dorito wasn't the better chip. The Sun chip was the better chip. Dorito had the better crunch. Lay's baked, I think Zach said verbatim, are good for absolutely nothing. Can't wait to see their stocks plummet after the masses hear this episode. But we are on our way to beautiful New York State, and we're going to, I think, continue recording a little bit of stuff. I'm filming some stuff. I got a really good shot of us, Zach and I, Ubered to Pat's house or I guess lifted to be more exact. And I got this shot of us all hugging. And then once I hit stop recording, my camera was like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't get that." So I think we're gonna do a dramatic reenactment of the first meeting. So we'll put that video in the show notes as well. Reminiscentpodcast.com.
Also, we're probably only going to get one episode out of this weekend because we're just enjoying each other's company. So sorry and not sorry, but thanks for listening. Bye.
Yeah, this is too much fun. All right.
Well,
all right, bye. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If you made it all the way through this episode, you are a fucking champion, because that was a weird one. Stay tuned next week where we discuss whether or not I decided to go to the reunion. This time it was just really great to see each other. You know, we're all best friends. We don't see each other enough, and it was fun to share that experience. Stay tuned for a little bit of a travel vlog coming out in the future. Check out Twitter at _reminiscentfm. You'll hear about it there first. We love you all. Thank you so much for everything. We'll talk to you next week. Love you all. Bye.